Hello everyone, happy Monday. I know it's early. It is not 1 o'clock like it normally is for these virtual safaris, but it is 9:30 a.m. We are at Denver Zoo celebrating World Oceans Day. I'm Carly, and we are talking about the African penguin flock that we have here at Denver Zoo. This will be our second time checking in on these guys, but it's gonna be really fun today. I have keeper Stephanie to talk all about how the decisions you make, even in a landlocked state like Colorado, can impact our oceans. And what better way to talk about them than to talk about a species that is right out there in the oceans and impacted by those decisions in our waterways every day. So if you have anything you want to contribute to World Oceans Day, I highly suggest going to denverzoo.org/zoo2you. We have some World Oceans Day activities, videos, information there for you to enjoy and follow along throughout the day. Hi Shannon, we would love a virtual safari of the whole zoo, but that would take quite a long time. Yes, Brienne, we are early today. We love to just catch the penguins when they're feeding, so we had to work around their schedule, which is totally fine with us. Hi Lala, hi Linda. So yeah, it's World Oceans Day and we're really excited to talk about that. So I'm gonna flip it over and we're gonna say hi to Stephanie and learn about the flock. All right, hi there Stephanie.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm with our African penguin flock. These guys are from South Africa, Namibia, kind of that bottom part of Africa there. So that makes them temperate penguins. So they do really well in our climate here in Colorado. We can keep them out most of the time. Unless it's below 20 degrees, they can come outside on their exhibit. And they are endangered. They face a lot of problems in the wild. One of the biggest problems they face is overfishing. I'll give you some ideas on what you can do to help with that later. Another problem they face is oil spills and stuff like that. So a little bit about our individuals here. We do have some penguins that are quite fat right now. Like this is Sully right here. He's going through his annual molt, so he is losing his old feathers. Penguins lose all of their feathers all at one time instead of just a couple here or there like the birds that fly. So they're going through that catastrophic molt right now, and that's why we have feathers everywhere.
So we have a couple birds in that state. We have one right here behind Sully, who's looks like in the very early stages of that molt.
Yeah, Sinclair, actually, she does this every year where she kind of gets really bad feather condition right before she molts. So she actually hasn't started that process yet. We always know when they're about to molt because they get really hungry and they gorge themselves on food and kind of blow up like Sully has. So hopefully Sinclair does that soon, and then she'll look as good as some of our other guys that have already molted this year.
Everyone who's tuning in is so excited we're featuring penguins. So hi to Josiah and Zachariah and Ethan. A lot of people know some of these birds as individuals, and here they go into the water. So you'll be feeding them this morning, is that right?
Yes, I'm feeding them some capelin. They all get a multivitamin every day, so I'll be handing out some vitamins to everybody. And then we have one penguin that's on some medication for a little infection that she is kind of getting over. We're still medicating her right now because she's actually molting, and it's kind of a stressful period for them naturally while they're going through that molt. So we also have you might notice this penguin that's just kind of laying around back here. She's our oldest penguin, and so she likes to rest a lot. She's 28 years old, which is quite old for an African penguin. They live to be about mid-20s in the wild. So yeah, she's just kind of our old lady and likes to take lots of breaks.
Yeah. Hi from Emma, hi Isaac and Anderson. So yeah, you'll just see that pinned comment we posted has the link to all the great World Oceans Day activities. So I think something that might be hard for people to understand being in a landlocked state like Colorado is how their decisions can impact our oceans. How can they do that?
So even though we're in a landlocked state here, our rivers and waterways still lead to the ocean. So anything you can do to help, like just making sure your trash ends up in a trash can and not floating around where they can get in our river systems and stuff will help. making sure that you reduce your plastic usage, because you know we have to put that somewhere eventually. We have our shirts that are made from recycled bottles, so reusing plastics also helps. Also, since these guys eat fish only, you know, in the wild, one of the problems they're facing is being able to find enough fish to eat. So there's a really easy way that you can help with that. Monterey Bay Aquarium has this app that you can find for smartphones that tells you what kinds of fish you should eat for good environmental reasons, and which kinds of seafood to avoid, so that we can save enough fish for penguins and other animals that rely on fish in the wild, and also just using good environmental practices, support those fishermen that are using those good environmental practices while fishing.
Great. Well, I'm gonna let Stephanie kind of get to feeding, because I know the penguins are hungry. Stephanie, Lysander is 7. He wants to know if the penguins like when it rains.
You know, our penguins are a little bit pampered, so I think they usually go inside when it rains. But if it's a super hot day, I'm sure that's a really nice comfort for them. And sometimes we put out a sprinkler for them to play in on hot days. So I think it's also kind of an individual thing. Some of the penguins probably like it more than others. They all have their own unique personalities. So.
Sure. All right, once you're feeding, I'm going to ask you to point out, everyone's asking for Maddie and Ramon.
Okay.
They really want to see those two. And Travis is laughing over there because he knows she's a favorite. So we're just going to get right down here, level with the birds. They're so excited to eat.
All right, so this is Maddie right here, front and center.
Right here?
Yeah.
Say hi to Maddie, everyone.
Maddie's going to eat her vitamin fish there.
Wow, she's... that whole fish. Do they bite them? Do they chew them? Or can they swallow them whole?
They just swallow them whole. You can kind of see inside their mouths when they take their fish. They have these little kind of projections on the tongue and the roof of their mouth that helps them swallow live wriggling fish and keep it, you know, from getting away. We're obviously feeding them fish that was fished sustainably according to that Seafood Watch program. And we thaw it out, so it comes to us frozen, not live. So
hi, Zachariah. We're wearing gloves to feed them just as an extra precaution right now. Just taking all the necessary precautions when feeding animals. We don't want any of our germs to get onto their food and into their system.
Yeah, also fish is quite stinky.
Yes, no one wants their hands to smell like fish.
Yeah, if you're handling fish like I do, you kind of just don't want your hands to smell like fish all the time. So,
hi, Jim and Peggy. These penguins are still at Bird World, but the building is decommissioned. We do have plans to eventually move them to a different area of the zoo, a new habitat. But of course, with COVID, the zoo being closed for so long, some of these plans are on hold. So yes, Kendall, we look forward to reopening as well. Oh, and here is a Sully on your left hand.
Yep, this is Sully right here.
Oh, let's see.
And then we have Chupacabra right here that doesn't want to eat his vitamin fish for some reason.
Come on, Chupa. Oh, he's a no.
He's just... This is a little different for them because usually we only have one person in here feeding the penguins.
He might be a little thrown off by me.
Yeah, so it might take them a little bit longer to come over to eat, but that's okay. Riley still needs her vitamin fish, so I'll try to give her that. There we go.
Hi, Brandy. We are not open yet. We are still waiting for that state approval, but we're ready and we can't wait to open. And trust me, you will not miss it when we do. We will make that announcement far and wide. Mark Rinker says hi. He's one of our awesome volunteers. Hi, Josiah. We do penguin feeding, so you'll just have to time your visit to check them out. So, hi, Karen. So you're watching our feeding of our African penguins. This is World Oceans Day, so we're talking all about how actions you take at home, whether it be buying sustainable seafood, properly recycling your recyclable items, and properly disposing of your waste items can really have an impact on ocean-dwelling animals. Hi, Michaela. The oldest age these penguins can get up to, what is that, Stephanie? You said the average in the wild is about mid-20s?
Yeah, in the wild it's about mid-20s, but in zoos and aquariums they live a little bit longer. They can live up to their mid-30s. And the oldest I've ever heard of was 42. So that one was really ancient.
Hi, Lala. Some of them aren't taking the fish because I might be here. They're not really used to me being down here for the feeding. So I might even back up a little so they feel more. These animals really have strong connections with their keepers, and it's a huge trust for them to take food like that. So sometimes they're just a little wary of the new ones, like me.
So I don't know if anyone's noticed, but they all have their own little individual personalities. And so you'll see some of them come up here and they like to kind of chew on the fish for a while. And then there's one that kind of snatched his fish and ran away. He likes to take his food to go. And then we have Wilson up here on the rock, who is kind of a shyer penguin, and she's really nice. But she likes to have her fish tossed to her, so I'm going to do that. Oh, she didn't catch it. Someone else is going to eat it. It's fine.
Oh, way to go, Wilson. So some people are noticing that we have bands on the arms. So let's give everyone a clue as to what those mean and how it can help them identify who's who when they visit.
So everyone has their own unique color of cable ties so that we can help identify. Most of them also have a silicone band on the other side. If they have their colored band on the left side, that means they're a female. If they have the colored band on the right side, that means they're a male. The way you can remember that is ladies on the left.
Ladies on the left.
That's true for a lot of zoo animals. They'll, be ladies on the left, males on the right.
So this is a male then.
Yep, this is Kato.
Hi, Kato. Where's Ramon? Everyone's very interested in seeing him too.
Ramon, he's back there. He already ate some fish, so he's hanging out and now preening himself. So now we're getting kind of some of the more shy ones that are thinking about coming over that weren't so sure about it before.
Well, that's a great segue into this question from Nancy, who says, is there a feeding hierarchy in the flock?
There kind of is. There are some penguins that are pushier than others, and they'll kind of elbow their way right to the front. And then we have some like Wilson that will always hang back and wait for us to toss her some fish. I try to feed all the kind of more dominant penguins first and then the shyer ones later, just because then they don't get their fish stolen from them. So sometimes Wilson will get tired of waiting over there for me to toss her fish, and she'll come over and get her fish. But
how can you be sure you've fed all of them and that's not just one hungry bird coming up over and over?
So because of those bands, it makes it a little bit easier for us to be able to tell who we've fed. But I also know these penguins really well. So even if their band is missing, or if we take it off because they're molting, I can still identify who they are. I think Splinter has her band removed right now because she's molting. So I know that she's one of the really big, fat, molting penguins. So, Wilson here has a really big, long beak, so she's really easy to tell apart. Some of them have a lot of dots like Simon does on his belly, and a triangle right here. So, I mean, they're all individuals, just like people. They all look a little bit different, and as you work with them and get to know them, it just makes it easier to be able to tell who they are.
Juanetta wants to know, do they just eat the one fish per session, or how many are we trying to get them to have?
They can eat as many fish as they want. Penguins are really good at regulating themselves. We try to make sure they eat at every feeding, especially in the mornings, because we're trying to get their vitamins and medications into them. The couple that I have, or the one that I have out here that needed her medication, hasn't come over yet. So she's molting, so she may not want to eat. So we'll probably just try to give her her medicine later this afternoon and see if she's hungry then. I'm not really sure if I answered the question.
I think that was a great question. No, let's see. Hi, Kristen. The zoo has one juvenile penguin, but he is in our Humboldt flock. So our bigger penguins we did a couple weeks ago, if you want to check that out on our YouTube page. Oh, Josiah and Zachariah want to know, do penguins ever play with toys? I think these are some of the most playful ones. They have lots of enrichment they can enjoy.
Yeah, so we have different toys that we put out here in their exhibit for them. Some of the penguins like to take them back to their nest boxes and use them as nesting material. And then they all really like to steal them from each other, kind of back and forth into their different nest boxes, which is kind of fun. Roast beef has this ball that he really likes to carry around with him everywhere. It's really funny. But we also blow bubbles for them and put out sprinklers sometimes so that they can cool off. We have a disco ball. So some things we have to monitor with them and make sure, the penguins aren't chewing them up or anything. And then other things we can leave with them because we know they're safe for them. This is Ramon right here.
Oh, here's Ramon. Yeah. For all the people who have done the penguin encounter have certainly met Ramon.
Yeah, and there's Juniper out here. She's left light blue, and she's one of our encounter birds as well. Kind of going back to their personalities, she doesn't always want to be around me very much. She's been really good lately, so she's been a lot friendlier lately, but she just kind of goes through these different moods, and it's really funny.
Hi, Breezy. Their nest boxes are behind the scenes, so we're just going to be out here on the beach with them feeding, so we can't show you those, but they are pretty cool. They like to bring in sticks, and they kind of fight over who gets which stick. It's kind of fun to watch when they go inside to build those. Let's see. So let's talk about their kind of natural habitat and some of the adaptations they have that help them survive in oceans.
So penguins have this nice kind of coat of feathers on them. They're really thick. They have a ton of them, and they act like a wetsuit for them when they're swimming. They live in a temperate climate, like I was saying before, but they still swim in really cold water, deep water that comes up to the surface, that's full of nutrients and lots of fish for them. So they have to have that kind of wetsuit to keep them warm. So if penguins are missing a lot of feathers, they'll actually get too cold. So that's why they've developed that weird molting system where they just molt all their feathers all at once. They gorge themselves right before they go into that molting cycle and get really big and fat, and then they live off of that body fat while they're losing their feathers, so they don't have to go in that cold water.
So when we're calling them fat, that's a good thing. It's helping protect them from the cold because they're without their feathers for the time being, but they've got some extra body fat to keep them warm regardless. A lot of people want to know who's the friendliest, who's the naughtiest.
Well,
depends on who you ask, I bet.
Friendliest is definitely Maddie. She was hand-raised here at the zoo, so she really enjoys being around people. I joke that she thinks she's a person, so she's always escaping out of her back hole, trying to go in and out of the gate because she wants to be with us. Our naughtiest African penguin, I would say maybe the ones that are banded pink, because they just don't eat very well all the time, and we kind of have to follow them back to their nest box and really make sure that they get their fill of fish. And then the light blue ones, Juniper and her mate Sully, they can be really aggressive around their nest box when they're trying to nest. So those are probably our biggest naughty penguins.
How many are in our flock?
We have 19 African penguins, and our youngest is a few years old now.
Luke wants to know what they feel like, and a couple people have asked if we pet them or give them scratches.
So, of course, one of the perks of being a zookeeper is we do get to touch them quite a bit. The public can touch them when we do our animal encounters, which hopefully in the future we'll be able to start up again. Not sure about that information, but they feel really pretty soft. It kind of depends where they are in their kind of feather cycle too, because when their feathers start to get kind of old and dry and brittle, they can be kind of prickly. Like Simon kind of looks like the one that's preening right there, like he might be kind of in the prickly stage. And then while they're losing their feathers and they're growing those brand new ones in, kind of the whiter areas on their back, that's super soft.
Very, very downy, very soft.
Yeah, and then after they get all their new feathers in, they have to preen themselves, which a lot of them are doing over there with their beaks. They're just kind of zipping their feathers together, taking care of their feathers. They have an oil gland, and they spread that oil all over their body to help condition those feathers and make them waterproof.
Lala's wondering what they're looking at. Probably the other keeper, Travis, who's on the other side of the habitat right now. And Karen, ladies on the left. So when you see the colorful armband, the cable tie, if it's on their left arm wing, that is a female, right is male. So when you come back, look for those left bands. Everyone's just saying they cannot wait to come see these guys in person when they get back here.
Yes, I can't wait for you guys to come back.
So we've seen some of them kind of like puff up and do a little wiggle and then go back. What is that behavior?
That's just we call it kind of like a fluff and stretch. I don't know if that's a technical term, but it's actually a sign that they're really comfortable around us when they're willing to do that, and when they're willing to just sit here and preen themselves. So it's kind of like just a little bit of a stretch, and their feathers actually move. They can actually move their feathers, unlike us. We can't really control, our hair on our arms and stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we look for when we're doing acupuncture we have a few penguins that get acupuncture for their arthritis. And when they do that fluff and stretch, we know they're really comfortable.
Well, that's good. Laura wants to know what kind of fish they're eating.
Yep, these are capelin, so they're small ocean fish. And then in the afternoon, we're going to give them a bigger fish that's fattier called herring. And we give that to them in the afternoon because that's the longest stretch overnight where they don't eat. And so it kind of sustains them till the morning, and then they'll be hungry for their capelin.
Talk a little bit about how unsustainable fishing practices have made it harder to find food in the ocean for these penguins.
So these penguins are really limited to a certain area in the wild. They can't go too far away from land because they do breathe oxygen and they need to be in their nesting areas. So if we fish too much in the penguin hunting grounds, they can't adjust to that. So we need to leave enough food for them to eat and be able to eat enough for them to come home and regurgitate it to their chicks too. Penguins have a really large stomach capacity to fit lots of fish in there, so they can bring it back and give it to their chicks. So
Is this Juniper
that was Juniper.
She's not quite eating.
And Triangle, she sometimes is really shy about eating, and she'll do this thing where she waits for me to take my gloves off and then she wants a fish. So that's one of her little unique quirks too.
And so Stephanie mentioned this earlier, but if you have just joined in the last few minutes, a really easy way to change one of your habits to make more fish available in the ocean for animals like the African penguin is to download the Monterey Bay Seafood Watch app. It'll tell you which brands, which fish are farmed sustainably so that you can be having a positive impact when you eat seafood. You don't have to stop eating seafood, but look for the way that it's farmed and harvested and caught sustainably so that there's enough food for the penguins in the wild. A very easy way. And then recycling and disposing of your trash properly, because even in Colorado, what you toss out the window or leave in the street can get in our streams, our creeks, then our rivers, and then our oceans.
Yeah, and thinking about chemicals too. If you dump chemicals into our waterways, those can travel great distances and affect environments downstream. So
very true. Evan wants to know, are they more likely to live longer in a zoological setting in human care versus in the wild?
They are more likely to live longer in zoos and aquariums. We have vets on staff to help them if they get sick right away. We're literally handing their food to them so they don't have to hunt for their food. This is Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
And we take really good care of them if they get arthritis. Like our oldest penguin, Dancer, she's not comfortable swimming for really long periods of time. So in the wild, she probably wouldn't have made it this long. She's also gone through periods where she was missing a lot of her feathers, and so she wouldn't have been able to keep warm in the wild. So.
Hi, Tomaz. They don't need air conditioning on days like this. They are from the coastal regions of Africa, so they are really more of a temperate bird. They're more likely to enjoy a day like this than a day in January with a snowstorm.
Yeah, there are penguins all over the southern hemisphere. There's a species all the way up on the Galapagos Islands, really close to the equator. So they are really warm climate penguins there.
And Tomaz, some of them have already eaten. You just kind of joined in just recently. They've been eating for the last 10 to 15 minutes. Some of them might be a little shy, a little wary of me being in the habitat, along with Stephanie, because I'm not normally in here with them. But some, they are good at regulating, so when they're full, they'll stop eating, and I'm really jealous of that. They don't eat when they're bored like us humans.
We also usually give them a hand signal at the end of our feeding that tells them it's time to go inside. So I actually shut the doors so that they'll stay out here with us and we can share them with you. So they're all kind of hanging out kind of more towards that side of the exhibit because they know they're supposed to go inside right now.
Yeah, Tori wants to know, do we simulate finding and hunting for food like they would in the wild? Not really. We're hand feeding them. We want to make it easy, and these are dead fish, so it wouldn't really be much of a hunt if we just poured them in the water.
Yeah, we also need to make sure that everyone gets their vitamin fish. We keep track if they don't eat, because that can be one of the earliest signs that they're sick. So we need to make sure that everybody's getting something to eat. If we just throw fish in their pools, then we don't know who ate what, and it would be harder for us to keep track of that stuff.
Steve says, we keep talking about molting. Do they molt every year or just when they're young?
They do molt every year. They molt a little bit more at first when they're young, when they're growing up and getting their juvenile feathers. But yep, once a year. They have a shorter period of time that they molt, unlike, robins and stuff in your backyard. Those guys can molt over a long period of time and just lose 1 or 2 feathers, on each side at a time. But these guys have to lose all their feathers in a very quick amount of time so that they can get their wetsuit back and go back in the water and start hunting fish again.
Zachary wants to know, do they bite each other?
They do bite each other. They're very territorial. They all like to have their own space. So especially inside around their nest boxes, if somebody wanders too close to someone else's territory, they might get a little nip.
Steve also wants to know, can and do these penguins breed?
Our penguins are part of a species survival program or plan. They tell us who we can breed with who and how many chicks we're allowed to have every year. So right now we don't have anybody that we're allowed to breed. Some years that just happens. But we have nest boxes in the back. They're just modified dog kennels for them, and they bring their nesting material in there and then they lay their eggs. We do have incubators where we put their eggs. If they're a really valuable pair that we really want a chick out of, we can put their egg in that incubator, control the temperature and humidity, and make sure that we get a chick out of the process. And then when they hatch, we put them back with their parents.
Yeah. Hi, Ella. Enrichment can range from tossing kind of like pool toys in the pool for them to go retrieve, bringing in some small sticks for them to help them make their nest box, and bubbles. They really like bubbles and kind of shiny things. I'm surprised none of them have gone for your keys or your badge.
Yeah.
Today.
They have chewed on my watch in the past.
Yes, they were chewing on your watch. Which is why if you ever visit here, we really have to reinforce the message, don't toss anything shiny in here. This isn't a wishing well. They're attracted to shiny things because fish are shiny, so they think it's a fish, and they'll go down, and we don't want them swallowing any dimes or sequins or jewels or anything like that.
Pennies are a really big problem
pennies.
with these guys. If they have really strong stomach acids when they eat these fish, they don't chew them. They completely digest the whole fish. They never spit out the bones and stuff like owls do. And then when they poop, it's pure liquid. So if they eat pennies, they're able to digest those pennies and that releases zinc into their bloodstream, which is poisonous. So
We really don't want that. So I'm going to take the little last call for questions. We've had so many today. Time has flown by on this early edition of Virtual Safari. As a reminder, as I kind of wait for the last few questions to come in, you can check out a whole suite of World Ocean Day activities on our website, denverzoo.org/zoo to you. We have some other videos throughout the day. Don't forget that Monterey Bay Seafood Watch app, and then just recycling your bottles and everything. The birds are kind of ready to go in. They're used to getting fed and going back inside for a few hours.
yeah.
So they're all kind of ready for that, despite us closing the door so that we could share them with you all.
They're like a little bit of a different routine today. What's going on, guys?
Yes.
And that's good for them, though, too, to kind of vary their routine and have their day look a little bit different.
Joy says her daughter's Christmas present was meeting these guys in an up-close encounter. So that was really fun for her. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Joy.
Yeah, we really enjoy doing those encounters with you guys, and we really miss having you guys here.
Hi, Cameron. Juniper is still here. He says he also met her in a penguin encounter. She's
Oh, don't bite her.
a little far back. Her mate Sully is looking really fluffy these days. Who's that in the far back, kind of close to the door? Way back.
That's Triangle.
No, kind of far
Oh.
closer to the other door.
The one that's molting?
Yeah.
That's Splinter.
Splinter.
She's our youngest. Yeah, and we have Maddie right here, who's one of our encounter birds, so she's coming over for that extra attention. And this is her mate, Chupacabra. I'm not really sure why he keeps biting her. But, someone was asking about penguins biting each other. And he's actually historically not been that friendly of a bird, but since Maddie's really friendly, he's become more friendly.
Hi, Carla. Sometimes they lay eggs in their nest boxes, but not any this year. Ella wants to know how long they sleep.
They sleep overnight, just like we would. So they do get locked in every night, so they don't have the sun to tell them what time it is, but we do have lights on a timer inside so that they can tell when it's time for them to sleep. And so, they'll sleep like up to 12 hours like we would, maybe, if you're really tired. And they will take naps throughout the day too. Like our oldest dancer, she likes to take lots of naps.
Lots of naps. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for waking up early with us. We are so excited to bring you our African penguin flock this morning so you could see their first feeding of the day and get World Oceans Day off to a great start. Look for more content on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter throughout the day. And then, of course, our website, denverzoo.org/zoo to you. Lots of great information and activities for parents of kids to go on there and check out. So thank you all so much for the awesome questions by Josiah and Zechariah. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Ashley. We had a really great time. Thank you so much to Stephanie for answering all your questions. And thanks to the penguins, of course, for being such great stars of our virtual safari. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks,